Welcome to the Vivian Construction site safety induction video. Now we're going to spend a few minutes making sure you know how to be site safe and what it takes to keep this site zero harm. First things first, you need to make sure you know who all your contacts are on site. That would be the project manager, site manager, quantity surveyors, health and safety officers, and any first aiders on site. And remember, you must always sign in and out of your site. Now you'll always want to know where the fire extinguishers are located. You'll find them at sign-in stations, mobile safety stations, and temporary switchboards around the site. If you do need to use one, let your site manager know as soon as possible. Next, make sure you're familiar with the site plan and all evacuation assembly points. In the event of an evacuation, listen for an evacuation alarm, air horn, or a verbal warning from your managers. You must follow all directions from your wardens during an evacuation. Site managers will check alarms as part of their weekly site inspections and check the batteries monthly. But remember, don't wait for the inspection. Report any safety issues you see to your site manager as soon as you see them. The most important thing on our site is your safety, so we treat all reports of unsafe acts with discretion. You won't ever get into trouble reporting any incidents. We want everyone to be able to learn from each other's mistakes so we don't repeat them. However, all serious incidents and accidents must be reported immediately. That would be any injury, asset damage, environmental harm, or any near misses that could lead to serious incidents in the future. Now, in the event that you need first aid, contact your nearest first aider for treatment, or go to the site manager's office. You'll also need to advise your supervisor immediately so they can report it to site management and complete any paperwork. If you think you need medical treatment, advise your supervisor immediately and they can arrange transport and accompany you to the medical centre. Do not drive yourself. Now, if a work-related injury becomes worse after work and you need medical treatment, contact your supervisor who will accompany you. If you're unable to make contact, inform them as soon as possible, ideally before your next shift. If there is a serious accident, there's a few things you can do before help arrives. If you're the first one on the scene, shout for more help. Then call emergency services. Make sure the accident is site safe for others, and then, if you're able to and you're suitably trained, you should perform first aid. Lastly, try not to interfere with the scene of the accident, except obviously to prevent further harm. Electricity can be a major cause of injuries and even fatalities on site, so you'll need to be on your game here. All portable electrical tools and equipment must be visually inspected before each use on site. Inspect residual current devices daily and keep extension leads off the ground. Remember, never allow them to rest on any metal surfaces, and under no circumstances may any person tamper with or move any temporary electrical boards or any electrical components unless they are a nominated electrician. Now, before any plant can be used on site, you'll need to make sure it has plant and certification legislation. That means a risk assessment is to be provided and maintained with the equipment. You'll need a logbook and to keep it updated daily. The operator will have the appropriate certification or training to operate the equipment, and you've observed the maintenance records, test certificates, and all current certification for that item. All chemicals brought onto the site must be registered before their first use. As part of the registration process, you'll need a current material safety data sheet that is less than 5 years old. Any chemicals nominated as hazardous substances will need to be accompanied with a hazardous substance risk assessment for inclusion in the TA. And any chemicals designated as dangerous goods will need to be stored in accordance with dangerous goods regulations. Now, should you come across any material containing asbestos, cease work immediately and advise the site manager or safety representative who will then secure the area. Help us keep the site safe and tidy by cleaning up after yourself at your work area and when using any on-site facilities. Sort your rubbish, put it in the correct rubbish bins. This is required on-site and disciplinary action can be taken for people not adhering to this rule. We care about our environmental responsibilities at Vivian Construction, so regular environmental site inspections will be undertaken and any environmental issues will be addressed at site meetings and/or toolbox meetings. But don't wait for a meeting to raise any environmental concern. You can discuss them with the site manager directly at any time. In the case of an environmental emergency, and these could be situations like oil, fuel or other chemical spills or a major equipment failure, the situations will be managed in accordance with the project safety management plan. Now, All you subcontractors out there must provide your employees with the safety equipment they need and ensure TAs are completed and provided to Vivian Construction before working on site. If you've brought in other subcontractors for specialised work, ensure that they provide relevant compliance and safety information before they arrive. It's also important to maintain the safety of others. Subcontractors are responsible for temporary protection or barriers that minimise interaction with the public. If you need to work outside site boundaries, you'll need to coordinate this with the site manager. Now, some last housekeeping. The use of excessive foul language will not be tolerated on site, and activities that cause excessive noise and/or dust need to be coordinated through the site manager. No parking is allowed on site unless authorised by the site manager, and any vehicles parked on site are done so at the sole risk of their owners. Personal vehicles are to be parked off-site. And lastly, Vivian Construction Limited accepts no responsibility for the loss of equipment, materials or personal property in cars. Lock your tools and equipment away so that they are not easily accessible. Well, that's it from me. Now you should be ready to get to work safely and help us keep this workplace a zero harm site.